Good morning, it's Pam and welcome to another little chat over coffee, otherwise known as a coffee chat. So whether you have your coffee or your tea, or you're just cleaning your kitchen or driving your kids here and there, whatever you're up to, maybe laying in the backyard soaking up the sun, I hope that's what you're doing. You're welcome here. Let's have a little chat. I've got my strong black coffee again, and I'm taking a bit of a risk sitting backlit with the bright sun behind me, but I really wanted to somehow capture a little bit of sun in this video, so we'll see how it turns out. Okay, Thursdays. I always love Thursdays because I'm anticipating Friday, and I always love Fridays because they're like the day before Saturday, and there's kind of a buffer zone between Saturday or between Friday and Sunday. Sunday was always like a stress day, and it still is because I'm doing too much sometimes on Sunday mornings. But we go to a small church that has, a lot of needs, and I can serve, and I need to think of it as I'm delighted to serve, and I'm more choosy now about what I do. I don't just do whatever anybody asks me to do. I don't teach Sunday school. I'll work in the nursery and I'll lead the music, and once in a while I will do, like the announcements and things like that. They call it a service host. And so those are things I can do because I'm comfortable in a lot of ways in front of people, even though it does stress me out a lot. Anyway, all that to say, it's Thursday, February 26th of 2026, and Thursdays are, I don't know, I just have a positive vibe about Thursdays. Not quite as much as Fridays. And why do I love Fridays so much? Well, now I love Fridays because I call them my creative Fridays. And creative Fridays are like just so special to me because I intentionally take the time to curl up on my office chair and write a blog post or do something creative, right? Maybe I'll write a poem if something's been kind of on my mind, or I'll edit something that I've been wanting to post, or what other creative things. I've been wanting to try painting because I keep seeing these channels where people are painting, like Dave over in England, Get Some Color in Your Life, I think his channel's called, and Evie, she's, what's her channel name? I forget. I think it might have changed, but Evie, I'll try and remember to link your channel. She's been doing some awesome watercolors, and I know like my mother-in-law paints. She's a great painter with watercolors as well. And so it's something I've been kind of inspired to try, but I've never actually done. So that might be for a future Creative Friday. But today I wanted to read you a poem. So I've read you one poem. I think it was a short little one called The Fog. Fortifying caffeine. Cup of courage, as Tracy with an IE says. So this poem is called These Places Stay. And I wrote it partly like into my voice notes in my phone as I was driving away down the highway for the last time from the last home that we lived in. And I remember just standing there in the hall and looking at the rooms and looking at, the kids' height markings on one little section of the wall, the colors that I had, painstakingly chosen at the hardware store and painted, and just all the life that we had lived there, and just walking away from it it's always so bittersweet. And if you've moved which I'm sure a lot of you have, you know what I mean. Even though there's reasons for moving, it's hard to move. And so, yeah, this poem just kind of came out, and I added a little bit and fixed it up here and there, but a lot of it is just what I spoke into my phone right at that moment. These places stay. That feeling of home, it stays in your skin. However long, however many years, it's the fall of the light, the colors you painted. Someone played with the cat here. We opened the Christmas presents by this window. I watched a loved one cross the street, praying and hoping. In the silence of an emptied home, last look before the keys aren't yours, the heart feels full, like water brimming over the edge of a cup, heavy, liquid, gold and light, and breathless, as if all the air had been swept out of the room. The places where we've lived our days, in haste, in quiet contemplation, loud conversation, prayers and sobs and hugs, pleading one day, laughing the next. All the jokes and smiles, the dishes washed and put away, morning coffees, folded clothes, curtains open to the sun, blinds closed to keep out the cold, rain slipping down the panes on a stormy summer afternoon. These places stay in the bones. They recognize us and they wave goodbye as we come and go. New families come and then go. The years take their toll on the paint and the wood and the stone, and these places mark our lives, hold the very days we've lived within their walls. So yeah, wanted to share, for some reason, wanted to share that with you. So hopefully it made you maybe think about a good memory, a place that you've been, a house that you've lived in. Yeah. What else do I want to talk about? I'm looking forward to things. So sometimes I just want to rant on these coffee chats. I have lots of things that I rant about. You should ask my husband. I'm kind of a ranter. I'm like a verbal processor, I guess. So, sometimes I have to get things out of my system by just like talking it out, And on a positive note, though, I am really looking forward to March because I have 2 trips planned in March. First one, I'm going down to see a good friend in the town that we lived in before. So that's probably why I wanted to read that poem, because I was thinking about that town and that house and walking with her around the town and maybe seeing some old friends. So that is about 4.5 hours away. And then while I'm there, I'm also going to try and see my son, who lives like 6.5, 7 hours away, but in the same direction. So I'm super stoked about that. That's coming up in a couple weekends. And then at the very end of the month, we are going to go to Dylan's parents in British Columbia for Easter. And I am so excited about seeing my daughter, who is staying with them right now, and meeting her boyfriend. So we met him like really briefly at church, but they had just barely, started seeing each other at that time, and he was really busy doing something. So, it was just a quick moment, but I'm really, really looking forward to actually talking to him and seeing them together. And he's such an answer to prayer. So anyway, I'm not really supposed to share personal things on here, like family-wise. It's always hard to know where the line is, right? Like, where does someone else's story begin and where are you kind of treading on their privacy or their lives? So I figured I'll just do my best, and if anything is too much, I can always go back and, get rid of that video or put it on private. So that's why I'm looking forward to March. February has honestly been kind of a drag, and it was kind of a drag after January's drag. So just been powering through a little bit. And so, yeah. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to talk about, except that on my mind has been this idea of starting my own Bible study. So, as many of you know, I am a Christian. I've been a Christian since I was 4 years old. And a lot of what I do in life, I'm finding more and more as I grow older, the most important thing we can do really is share the love of Jesus with other people. And so sometimes I wrestle with with what to share and how to share it on here in ways that are inclusive to everyone, but also really honest about who I am, right? And one of the things I've been thinking about, because I go to a women's Bible study on Tuesday mornings, and it's really in depth, and we really study a lot of scripture. But I was sitting there this past Tuesday, and the feeling just came over me that I felt done with it. And I was like, why do I like really felt like I'm not coming back here again. And I was wrestling with it like the whole time, like what's going on? There's a lot of reasons, but I think that at the core, it's that I'm 51 and I'm old enough to be a mentor to others. You know what I mean? And I have really been enjoying the mentorship that's come from meeting with these older, mostly older ladies than me, and studying the scripture. I think it's really valuable. And so I don't want to take anything away from that. But there's a part of me that's thinking, you know, there are lots of women who can't get away in the middle of the day for something like this. Working women, younger mothers that have to look after their kids all day, you know, things like that, where I'm just feeling like I could give more to this, and maybe it's time to stop being on the receiving end so much. And I've been more on the receiving end during this kind of burnout stage of my life. I'm trying to recover, and it's hard to know like when you actually have the energy to move forward and do something more. So yeah, I'm just sharing that with you, you know, honestly, openly. I don't know for sure what's going to happen with it, but have you ever had that sense when you're doing something and you're just like, it's over. This is not for me anymore. And you can't really put your finger on why. Like I could go down a whole litany of reasons why, but at the core, I just think there's something shifting in me. And that's a good sign, I think, because it means maybe my reserve tank that was just bone dry is filling up again. Maybe these gentler days, maybe these creative Fridays, maybe these, you know, conversations, slow morning coffees, less rushing, less stressing. Maybe it is healing something. I think it probably is, right? So, but there's part of me that's nervous. Like I always jump too fast, too soon into things and get myself really weighed down. And so I also have a caution about that. All right. Well, I hope that, I hope this video is okay with my face not really being in the light. Maybe I can, I don't know, do a little post-production. But I'm glad that you joined me. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for chatting with me, even though you didn't get a word in edgewise. You know, I feel for you, but that's the nature of it. I would love to hear from you though, if you have a comment, if anything in this video made you think of something, or you just want to put a little flower, or, you know, a way of saying, I was here, I was listening. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll talk to you again really soon. Okay, bye.